Pressure. It's typical for expat executives, but the new Cigna report of expats living overseas has really given us a lot of clarity and a lot of new understanding of how this happens. And so we're going to take a look at that. So with the ongoing pandemic, the world has seen a big shift in the way that expats live. This is not too surprising, as we've all seen a big shift in how we live. The that mount on expats and their families have always been higher at a higher level than the general population. But the things that we're finding now is that the additional pressures of the last 3 years have created a bigger delta between what people in the general population are feeling and people who are living overseas. A recent report that was commissioned by Cigna, a large multinational insurance company, has given a lot of daylight into the lives of expats, and it comes with some really interesting data. What we find is that 90% of expats are reporting a higher level of stress, with 98% experiencing symptoms of burnout. Now, this doesn't seem too surprising because expats always experience higher levels of burnout, higher levels of problems with the way that they're living, because they have the added complexity of living overseas, language barriers, intercultural barriers, new friends, not being with old friends, not being with family members, things of that nature. So it's not too surprising, except when you take a look deeper into the data that shows a 20-point delta between the findings of expat executives and their families versus those who are living at home. So while we're all experiencing problems from the pandemic, expats are experiencing a greater degree of that because of the complexity of their lives. It also kind of depends on where you live, right? So one client that we work with has spent 3 years in Shanghai, and of those 3 years, several months of that has been in complete isolation, where food is brought to them every day and they've been kind of locked in their apartments. Now, one guy in Switzerland who reported a decided decrease in body fat measurements because he's been out walking and running in the outdoors for this entire time. So the way that we process these situations is quite different. When you take a look at the factor of isolation in this report, it really highlights a major hurdle that expats find when they're living and working overseas. So isolation and this constant connectivity that's become part of our lives have taken a toll on the well-being, with 87% feeling helpless, trapped, or defeated, which mental health professionals will tell you sometimes is the first sign of an onset of depression. But the second thing is that 86% are feeling detached and alone, leading to this burnout feeling. So not being able to collaborate and talk to your friends and family back home, worrying about whether or not you can get home in certain time to help someone if they got into trouble, if they fell very ill, but also just the uncertainty and ambiguity of not knowing what was coming around the corner in your particular situation. So we recommend 3 things to really help kind of fight against this. Number one is to reach out and to connect to people who are living in the same circumstances you are. And so oftentimes as expats, we reach out and talk to our friends back home, or we reach out and talk to our family members. But the reality is they're not going through the same types of things on a daily basis that you are. It's really important that you cultivate a network of people who are living similarly to you, whether it be in your own neighborhood there, wherever you're living, or across the globe, people who are living away from their home country who might be experiencing the same kinds of trials and tribulations that you're experiencing. The second thing is just to be aware of these forces on you and to not take them for granted. A lot of times people say, well, I feel guilty for worrying about myself during this time, and I shouldn't really be focused on me. I should be focused on how my kids are doing and how my family's doing. But the reality is, by being self-aware of the pressures and the external forces that are working on you within your own ecosystem, you're able to temper yourself and therefore be a better father, be a better mother, be a better spouse, and be better for the people that are around you, including your teams. The third thing that I would say that's really important is to reach out and get some help from professional folks. So if you're feeling major depressive issues coming on, reach out to a mental health professional. If you're just feeling ambiguity and you're feeling like you don't understand how to keep moving forward with your work, reach out to an executive coach or to a peer group or to individuals who can give you the advice of how they're handling it through that period of time. So to combat the isolation, to combat the stress, reach out to folks who are living the same circumstances you are, be curious about your situation and really understand the effects that it's having on you, and reach out and get help. And we're here at Cranberry to help if you need anything. So please visit us at cranberryleadership.com, and thanks for listening.